And welcome back. We are now going to dive into this incredibly important topic of waste. Now, I did steal my thunder a little bit in the last video and said, what is waste? And indeed, our homes produce stuff. And the word waste shows a lack of design, of creativity, of resourcefulness to value things. And instead, we're calling them garbage. We're throwing them out. There is no such thing as waste in nature, and there doesn't need to be any such thing as waste coming from our home. Now, I did also say this in the last video that you may have seen a bit of a theme. We've been talking about each of these utility systems, and we've already talked about how your house can produce heat, not just consume it. Passive solar, for example. How your roof can produce water. So your house isn't just consume it, it produces it. How you can generate your own electricity, not just consume it. And yes, we can share internet. A little harder to just make that come out of nowhere, but it's a byproduct of that electricity that we can create. So yes, we now need to focus on waste. And how do we turn our homes into little factories that build soil and improve their local environment instead of exporting something into our environment that actually causes problems to that landscape? Welcome to the topic of waste. So, what are we going to cover? This is actually a very big topic. And I think a good place to start is actually going to these three words: reduce, reuse, recycle. Now, let me tell you why I don't like them. It's not that they don't have a good message. They really do. That it's easier to reduce than it is to reuse or recycle. If we reduce our behavior, there's less to reuse, there's less to recycle. We should start with reduction. We should start with minimalism. We should start with being more conscientious about how much we consume. And reuse makes a lot of sense too. Find a second life for things. Repurpose them. Look at them for the resource they are. Needs and yields, reapply it. Use your water 6 times. Don't use 6 times more water. We've already talked some of these concepts and ideas. And last but not least is recycle, in terms of finding another life for something and returning it back to the supply chain, whether that's a glass bottle or cardboard or whatever. So, you can hear there's a lot of reasoning in this. There's a lot of sensibility. This makes a lot of sense. However, I don't like these 3 terms when we talk about sustainability, because they make an emphasis on reduction, reduction, reduction. Do less bad instead of do good. Now, I do think you can frame these in that way, but that's not the lens that I feel like society perceives these in. I think these are looked at in a way for us to be less bad consumers instead of how to be producers. The very important part, as I mentioned, about how this has been thematically presented to you, and hopefully it's lit a fire under you and got you excited about how you can change your impact in the world in a way that isn't just going to improve the world, but it's going to improve your wallet, and it's going to improve your environment, make you feel proud of how you engage your home and your environment. So, here we go now. I've set the stage. We're now going to dive into 3 separate waste streams. Remember, this word waste is a human-invented word. That's why I have the quotations around it. And we can instead take a look at how we can turn organic matter into compost, into healthy soil. We can look at how we can reuse water supply into something called gray water. So it is water that doesn't have fecal matter in it. We haven't pooped into it. It's not connected to a toilet. And we can use that water again so it can give nutrient and water to our landscape. And we're also going to look at black water. And this ties back to both gray water and composting systems, because this is the one that scares a lot of people, but there are alternative ways of having toilets and getting rid of black water systems. Let's start with compost. It's the one that's a little easiest for us to bite into. And as much as it's the one that's the least squeamish, I'm going to be presenting on it in such a way that I might be causing a couple people to be a little more squeamish. You'll see very, very soon what I'm talking about. So what is compost? It's the practice of recycling organic matter and turning it into soil. Now, there is an art, there is a science to this, and yet there's also a natural process to this. All of nature composts and recycles. The tree drops its leaves to the forest floor and it becomes soil again. Is that the most efficient way to do it? Maybe not. But it still produces soil all the same. So again, there's a science that you could take on here and get excited about and try to create soil as fast as possible or for as many yields as possible, like heat. Or maybe you want to make sterile soil in terms of pathogens that's perfectly safe and weed free. Well, all those are different types of compost, and there's a science to making those. We are going to talk about the science more of composting in the soil section of the course. This is your introduction to it. This is to get out some of that squeamishness, get you jacked and excited, talk about how this compost system starts in the home with something like what you see on the screen right now, a simple pail on your countertop. Could be plastic, could be stainless steel, which makes it a lot easier to clean and pretty. And it starts there, and I'm going to teach you a way to process that inside your house. And you don't even need to use a compost pile or learn about other ways of building soil just yet. So I'm going to keep the conversation very focused at how do you turn this waste stream coming out of your home into a resource stream with just one simple technique. And we'll also later go on how you can do the other ones in case the one I'm about to teach you is not for you. So there's a plastic one, there's the metal one, but collecting it on your countertop in that bin, it still needs to get moved outside, probably at least a minimum of once a week. Depends on how much material you're going through, but if you wait longer than a week, you might get some smells, you might get fruit flies. You don't want these things. The lid and the design is a nice thing to stop some of that, of course, but most people are taking their compost out 1 to 3 times a week, possibly more if they are doing some bulk processing or they're vegan or vegetarian. So where does that go? Let's give you that introduction now to some of these different composting systems, and then I'm going to teach you the one. So the one I'm teaching you on is called vermicomposting. It is composting indoors year-round using high-performance worms. And these worms make beautiful soil and all sorts of amazing products. And for the right person, there's an extra cool factor, whether that's something that can produce you money, whether that's something that's a pet. If you've got kids, this is a cool sciencey thing to do and have, and a great way to teach them about sustainability. That's very active, very much related to their everyday life. Also gets them excited about gardening. So if you're looking to the sneaky way in, right? It doesn't matter what you're talking about. There's always what's the relevancy to the learner. And if you're talking about, hey, you want your kids to eat healthy, you want your kids to value the environment, well, show them how they can make some healthy soil through worms, through the food that they're eating, going from their plate to the worms, going from the worms to the garden to make the vegetables that now they have pride in and they watched grow so that they are healthy, understand where food and nutrient comes from. This is coming from a teacher here who taught kids. Like, there is definitely some powerful learning objectives here for everyday people, but of course, for kids. Backyard bins are a way to process more organic matter. A worm bin is good for a single or 2 people, but you might even need a second worm bin if you're, like I said, vegan or vegetarian. You do a lot of processing because a worm bin can only handle so much. It's great for the average person, but for some people, they want to be able to process more material. Maybe they want to process yard waste, grass clippings, leaves. That's not coming into your worm composting bin. Your worm composting bin is only for your kitchen material. But your backyard bin can take your kitchen material and a lot more in volume from the kitchen and also from your backyard. There is another system called compost bays. So this is going to go even more in volume. We're now talking about a cubic meter of material, or you could even do multiple bays and now maybe have 3 cubic meters, or even go larger yet. So if you are, again, got a big acreage, you're trying to generate a lot of soil for a large garden, you want to sell soil as a product, you have animals and you want to compost the manure safely, you maybe even have a composting toilet system. Well, a compost-based system is going to be able to handle that, get higher temperatures, produce more material, handle more material. So it's an awesome system for the right person. And then there are other systems. I call them just miscellaneous systems, whether that's something you can plug in that sits on your kitchen countertop. I'm not a fan, we'll go into it. Or whether that's a gigantic bin system that you can put a dead animal in and it'll be nothing but bones in a couple weeks because it's rotating and it's got all these active ingredients and it's kind of crazy that there's all these engineered systems for composting, and we're going to touch on them so you can be aware that they are there and they might be the right system for you. Okay, I hope I've primed you, I've excited you, I've given you a very quick introduction. As I said earlier, we're going to jump into these arts of composting, the backyard bins, the compost bays, how do you manage them, tips, tricks, all that. When we teach you about soil, when we have a dedicated part of this course, which is all about soil, it's such an important topic. I teach you soil science and bacteria and how to make a healthy compost and create heat out of it and all sorts of cool things. But for the purpose of just talking about a home and valuing the resources that come from it, your vermicomposting bin is something that everyone can do no matter where they are in their life, low cost. You can do it in an apartment, you can do it on an acreage. And with kids, no kids. And it can process year-round, making you some of the richest soil known to humankind. Have I sold you on it yet? You know what? I'm going to end this video here on that cliffhanger, and you're going to have to jump over to the next video. I'm going to teach you how to make your own worm bin, and you can not only make the most beautiful, richest soil, but I'm also going to show you how you can make a lot of money. See you in the next video.